Revealed, the incredible journey of a captain's hidden baby girl, a touching, life-changing story. In a small coastal town where salt mingles with the air from her family's diner, 18-year-old Sarah felt the weight of the world on her shoulders. The diner was alive with the smell of freshly baked pies and sizzling bacon, but Sarah's heart held an emptiness that echoed louder than any boiling pot in the kitchen. Word in town was that her father, a once proud captain of the Navy, had vanished into thin air, leaving behind a wound that never healed. Each whispered conversation among the townsfolk cut deeper than the last, painting him as a ghostly figure of betrayal and disappointment. Yet in the midst of the swirling gossip and uncertainty, Sarah dreamed of becoming a marine biologist, diving into the secrets of the ocean. That neon sign outside the diner flickered, lighting her path, although the road felt increasingly overshadowed by her father's shady past. She loved her mother fiercely, contributing to the diner's daily hustle, but resentment simmered within her, desperate for the truth that lay buried in the depths of family secrets. Then came the annual Veterans Fundraising event, her chance to channel her pain into something meaningful. Excitement filled the diner as locals poured in to share laughter and stories, fueling Sarah's determined heart. Amid the cheerful chaos, she sought to honor the heroes who fought for their freedom, gathering tales of sacrifice and courage from veterans. Each story sparked a flicker of hope, but beneath her growing spirit sat the unresolved questions about her father. As the deadline approached, despair drove her to search for answers in the dusty corners of the diner. Buried beneath years of memories, Sarah stumbled upon a box filled with forgotten documents, and her breath hitched. What she discovered shattered her world. Her father had a second family, ties he severed out of shame, branded a deserter by choices unknown to her. A tidal wave of emotion crashed over her, betrayal, anger, sadness, mixed with an overwhelming yearning for closure. The day of the event arrived, and the diner buzzed with honor and recognition. Standing before friends and strangers, Sarah's heart raced. The microphone in her hands felt like a weight of her father's decisions. Would she unveil his truth or protect her mother's heart? Her eyes searched for her mother's face in the crowd, seeking strength in their unspoken bond. Before she could pour out her heart, a sudden figure caught her gaze. A stranger, yet eerily familiar. Gasps echoed from the audience, a ripple of shock spreading. This man bore the unmistakable resemblance of her father. Time stood still. Her world spiraled with questions. Who was he? What did he mean for her family? The tension in the room crackled, like a storm brewing at sea. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. Sarah took a deep breath, feeling her heart race as she stepped closer to the unknown. She was on the brink of unveiling a legacy tangled in lies and honor. Would she find the courage to face the truth about her father, or would the past forever haunt her and her mother? With emotions swirling like a tempest, Sarah stood at the precipice of a life-altering decision, ready to reclaim her identity, but the path forward was shadowed in uncertainty. The air felt electric as Sarah hesitated, anchored in a moment that could shift everything she thought she knew. The din of the diner faded, faces blurring into a swirl of emotions: curiosity, concern, and disbelief. The man who resembled her father stood at the edge of her vision, his eyes locked onto hers with a familiarity that both soothed and unsettled her. "Who are you?" The words slipped out before she could stop them, her voice barely above a whisper. The crowd held its breath, the clinking of plates and murmurs of chatter silenced by her question. He took a step forward, his expression torn between pain and resolve. "Sarah," he said, as if her name was a damning oath. I'm your father." The word hung there, suspended in the overwhelming air, sending ripples through Sarah's heart. Every hope she'd harbored, every conflict she faced, seemed to collide at that moment. Her father, a man she'd spent years imagining only in shadows and whispered lies, stood before her with an apology etched into every line of his weathered face. "Why now? Why here?" she demanded, struggling to keep her composure amidst the whirlwind inside her. The urge to run to escape the confrontation tugged at her, but she stood her ground. "I didn't want to disrupt your life. I thought I was protecting you," he stammered, pain lining his brow. "I made mistakes, choices I can't take back. But when I heard about this event and all those brave stories shining light on your community, I knew I had to come. I had to face my past and you." Her heart raced, battling between the yearning for connection and the bitter taste of betrayal. She glanced at her mother in the audience, noticing the mix of shock and rage on her face. The truth, once buried, was now a volatile force threatening everything she loved. "What did you expect? That I would just welcome you with open arms?" Her voice rose with every word, fueled by anger and confusion. "You chose to disappear. You let everyone think you were dead." The crowd shifted, tension thickening the air as whispers began. Sarah felt the eyes of the townsfolk on her, and the judgment pierced deeper than she could bear. Yet this was her moment, her confrontation, burning away the fear of the truth. "I never wanted to hurt you," he replied, pain deepening his voice. "There are things you don't know. About my past, about why I left. Those decisions were never easy." "Then tell me," she snapped, drenched in emotion. "Tell me everything. If you want a second chance, you have to let me in. You have to show me the truth." As his face clouded with uncertainty, vulnerability took hold. He stepped closer, the distance shortening, but the weight between them felt insurmountable. "I don't want to ruin what you have, Sarah. Your mother deserves." He paused, collecting himself. "But you deserve answers, and I need to give them to you." An anguished silence descended, echoing the same questions in their hearts. All the years of absence, of pain, now surged like tidal waves threatening to drown them both. In that moment, everything felt unsteady, as if they were standing at the edge of two worlds before clarity washed over. "Let us talk," she finally said, her voice softening, the resolve hardening in her chest. "But you have to promise me it will be the truth. No more lies." As the tension shifted, the shadows of doubt lingered, leaving room for a fragile hope to take reign. The evening felt alive with possibilities as Sarah prepared to step into a new chapter of her life. Questions swirled in her mind, tantalizing and terrifying. Would this conversation hurt or heal? As her father nodded slowly, she felt a spark of defiance, a wild sense of courage rising within her. But just before they could walk away from the crowd together, a loud voice called out from the back. "Wait!" The ripple of unrest sliced through the air again, and a familiar figure emerged from the shadows. Sarah's heart sank as she recognized the face of the man who had always watched her from afar. What had he seen? What truths might he unveil? Sarah's heart raced as she locked eyes with the figure moving through the crowd. It was Jake, the man she had seen mentoring kids at the community center. He had always been an anchor for her in ways she didn't quite understand. His constant presence from the sidelines was a comfort, yet now it felt like a fracture. "Jake, what are you doing here?" she asked, her tone a mix of shock and worry. He stopped a few paces away from her and her father, brows knitted together in concern. "I couldn't stay quiet anymore. Sarah, there's so much you don't know about your father, and it's important." Her father's face paled, a mixture of fear and indignation flashing across his features. "You don't have to be involved in this, Jake," he said sharply. "Too late for that, isn't it?" Jake shot back. "She deserves the truth, all of it. You think showing up in some diner is enough to make things right?" The audience that had faded into the background suddenly reeled back to life, a blend of gossip and tension swirling around them like a storm. "Please," Sarah said, her voice trembling slightly but firm. "If you know something, you have to tell me." Jake took a deep breath, stepping forward. "I've known your father for a long time. A long time. And he never really told anyone what actually happened. Not fully. He left out the parts that matter." Sarah's hands clenched into fists at her sides. The flood of emotions surged again: distrust, anger, and a glimmer of hope for a resolution.
So, tell me.
Tell me what he is hiding. Her father began, but Jake held up a hand. Let me explain, he said, matching Sarah's intensity. It was years ago. Your father was involved in something dangerous. It followed him. It scared him. He thought he was doing what was best by distancing himself. Is that true? Sarah interrupted, her voice rising. You thought disappearing would protect me? Did you ever think that ending our connection would hurt me more? I thought it would keep you safe from my mistakes, he replied, his voice cracking under the weight of regret. Every choice I made was to keep you away from that life. Sarah. What life? Her pulse quickened. Tell me everything. Jake took a deep breath, gathering his courage. There were people after him. People who believed he knew too much about things that went wrong. He didn't want them coming after you. The words hung in the air, a mixture of disbelief and a hint of vindication washing over her. The absence, the silence, it all started to make an awful kind of sense. You mean to tell me that my father's disappearance wasn't just a choice? It was a matter of life and death. That's exactly it, Jake confirmed, his voice steady now.
And it gets messy.
He lost contact with a lot of people, including me. I didn't know you existed until recently. A deep silence enveloped the diner. The whispers faded as townsfolk leaned in, craving more of the unfolding story.
What now?
Sarah asked, feeling that familiar mix of anger, betrayal, and concern bubbling inside her. Is this why you came? Because you thought I would just forgive you? I don't expect forgiveness, Sarah, her father said softly, voice barely a whisper. I came to explain and to take responsibility, whatever that means. As she processed his sincerity, another voice echoed in the room. It was her mother, now on her feet, eyes wide and fierce. You don't get to just swoop back in and pretend to be a father now. You left us me, and then your daughter. No, Sarah. This is exactly what he wanted us to see him, as some kind of hero, who was protecting us. Her mother's voice trembled with pent-up emotion. The tension crackled again, and in that moment of chaos, a revelation hit Sarah. What if he's not the only one with secrets? A sudden thought pierced through her confusion. What have I been missing? If he had to keep things from me, how much does my mother know? Jake stepped closer, lowering his voice. Sarah, there's a lot more to this. Things are more complicated than any of us realized. As those words lingered in the air, Sarah felt a weight settle on her shoulders. More. Truths loomed beyond this moment, like shadows waiting to be illuminated. Then let us shed some light together. But as they braced for the storm that was about to break, a crash of glass shattered the moment, echoing wildly in the diner. Eyes turned towards the source of the noise, silence enveloping the crowd once more, leaving Sarah frozen as a sense of impending dread settled in her gut. What had just been revealed? And was it just the beginning? The crash sent vibrations through the diner, startling everyone. A tray had slipped from a waitress's hands, scattering dishes and drinks. The mingling scents of coffee and pie were abruptly replaced by gasps from the onlookers. Sarah! Jake shouted, stepping towards her, his eyes wide with concern. But she remained rooted in place, her mind racing. Everything felt surreal, the chaos around her blurred as she contemplated their father's hidden world. Are we really doing this now? She muttered, more to herself than to anyone else. Just when I thought things couldn't get more complicated. Her eyes darted from Jake to her father, feeling torn between two worlds, one kindled by the promise of truth and the other tethered tightly to a past that felt like it was spiraling out of control. Focus, Sarah, her father urged, drawing her attention back. His brow furrowed, a mix of desperation and determination there. This is just the beginning. We need to work together to make sense of everything. I can't even trust you, she whispered, shaking her head. Trust is hard. I get it. But if we don't face this together, whatever is lurking in the shadows will find us. Jake moved closer, his tone more measured now. Look, it's not just about you or me. There's a bigger picture. Your mother enough about my mother. Sarah snapped. The hurt twisted inside her like a thorn. She has her own issues, and now you throw this on top of it? Sarah, you don't understand. She can help us, he pressed, urgency lacing his voice. There are things she saw, things she knows. When her mother finally arrived at their table, breathless and still angry, it appeared that the confrontation was far from over. What do you mean she can help us? Sarah's mother demanded. I want to be a part of the charade. Jake placed his hands on the table, leaning in, trying to bridge the gap. We have to address everything now. There's a storm coming, and it already has your family in its crosshairs. A flicker of apprehension crossed her mother's face, yet she called upon all her maternal strength to maintain her resolve. You think I'm letting either of you throw me back into that life? I've worked too hard to put that behind me. Yes, and I didn't want any of this to come crashing down, her father whispered. Then how do we make it right? Sarah said, her voice trembling but firm. There was tension in her chest, a mix of fear and determination. She needed clarity, and maybe her parents could provide that if they united. We start by being honest. All of us, Jake declared, looking each of them in the eye. Her heart raced, but a different feeling began to surface, curiosity intertwined with anxiety. What pieces of the puzzle were they hiding? What did her mother know, and why had she buried it? Fine, Sarah finally said, feeling her throat tighten. Let us do it, then. Let us get everything on the table. But know this, I won't be shielded anymore. No more secrets. At that moment, the diner door swung open, and a figure stepped inside. A familiar face, one Sarah recognized all too well. As that person made their way over, dread settled like ice in her veins. Who were they, and what role did they play in the tangled web of her family's past? Is this a bad time? The newcomer asked with a faint smile, completely unaware of the turmoil swirling within the diner. Every head turned, and Sarah felt the air shift. Something was about to happen. Would this person add to the chaos or be the key to unlocking more mysteries? The answers, the fears, her family, it all hung in the delicate balance of this one moment. The newcomer, with their bright smile cutting through the tension, paused at the edge of their table. Sarah's heart raced as recognition washed over her. It was Jackson, her childhood friend, someone who wandered in from the past just as her world seemed to be unraveling. Jackson? She whispered, disbelief coloring her tone. Hey, Sarah. Long time no see, he said, stepping closer, his eyes sparkling with that familiar mix of mischief and warmth. Now is not the time for nostalgia, her mother snapped, her frustration evident. We're in the middle of something important. Jackson's smile faltered as he glanced at each of them. I didn't mean to interrupt. I just saw you all here, and thought I'd say hi. Jake, still leaning over the table, stiffened. This isn't a social gathering, Jackson. We've got serious issues to deal with right now. Serious issues? Jackson's brow furrowed. What's going on? We don't have time to explain, Sarah said, urgency creeping into her voice. She glanced at her father, who had fallen silent, his eyes locked on Jackson as if he recognized a ghost. But I need to know why you're here. Jackson hesitated, sensing the weight of unspoken histories. I heard things, he said quietly, then took a deep breath. About your family. That there might be trouble. I wanted to help. What do you know? Sarah pressed, swallowing the lump in her throat. Shadows danced in her mind as she considered how entwined Jackson might be in her family's secrets. He shifted, his confident demeanor waning. Just rumors, mostly. People talking about secrets that could be dangerous. You know how small towns are, they gossip. Her mother scoffed, but there was a flicker of concern in her eyes. And you thought showing up here, now, was a good idea? You could be putting yourself in danger too. I'm not afraid of danger, Jackson replied, squaring his shoulders. I've seen a lot of things in the years since we last hung out. I know when something isn't right. Then tell us what you know. Jake interjected. Jackson hesitated again, casting a wary glance out the diner window, as if expecting someone to appear. It's not just idle gossip. I heard there's someone looking for you, Sarah. Someone who knows about your father's past, and about your mother. The air turned electric. Sarah's pulse quickened. What do you mean? I mean, he said, his voice dropping to a whisper, it's connected to her past. I heard your mother's name mentioned, tied to something dangerous. Something big. Sarah felt the heat rise to her face. Her mother had spent years trying to shield her from the past. The perceived safety of their small-town life seemed suddenly fragile. What else? She pressed, panic creeping into her voice. I don't know everything, but Jackson searched for the right words. Someone wants answers. And they might not care who gets hurt in the process. The diner felt smaller, the clattering dishes and murmurs fading into a dull roar. Sarah's mind raced with possibilities. Could Jackson's arrival be a coincidence, or was it fate? Were the shadows finally catching up with them? Before she could express her growing fear, the door swung open again. The unmistakable sound of boots hitting the floor echoed throughout the diner. Another figure stepped in, a tall man with a determined expression, scanning the room as if hunting prey. Sarah, he called, his voice firm, causing everyone to go still. Every eye turned toward him, and dread mixed with curiosity in Sarah's gut. Who was he, and what did he want? In that moment, as the electricity of uncertainty crackled, Sarah knew they were barreling towards something unavoidable, something that would change everything they believed about their past and their future. Could they face whatever was coming? Or would the past claim them once and for all? The man's steely gaze locked onto Sarah, and for a moment, the noise of the diner faded away. She could feel all eyes on her, but his intense focus made her feel utterly exposed. Do I know you? Sarah stammered, trying to gather her thoughts as dread twisted in her stomach. He took a step closer, his expression unwavering. You don't know me, but I know everything about you, about your family, and your mother. Jackson stepped protectively in front of her, his earlier bravado replaced by a sudden tension. Back off. She doesn't know anything about you. I'm not here to hurt her, the man said, raising his hands slightly. My name is Caleb. I'm looking for answers that involve your mother. What do you want with my mother? Sarah demanded, her heart pounding. The air between them crackled with tension, a mixture of curiosity and fear. Caleb frowned, as if weighing his response. There are things from the past that she thought were buried, but they've come crawling back. People want the truth, and they believe you have it. Sarah exchanged glances with her family. Her mother's face paled, as if Caleb's words were echoes of her worst nightmares. What truth? She managed, her voice trembling. What do they want? Years ago, your mother made a choice, Caleb said, his voice grave. And now those choices have caught up with her. If she doesn't confront her past, it may consume both of you. The diner felt suffocating. Sarah struggled to comprehend Caleb's words. Her mother had always shielded her from the echoes of their history, and now, suddenly, it felt like they were on the brink of something that could unravel everything. Leave my family alone, Jake shouted, his fists clenching on the table. But dread bloomed in Sarah's chest. She could see heat flashing in Caleb's eyes, a flicker of understanding but also a desire to resolve unfinished business. I don't want to cause trouble, Caleb insisted. But I'm not the only one searching. If you don't want danger knocking at your door, you need to understand the truth. I'll decide what we need. Her mother fired back, her voice sharp. But even as she spoke, the tension seeped into her words, revealing an undercurrent of fear. Mom, do you know him? Sarah asked, her voice small. Her mother shook her head, but Sarah could see the cracks forming in her facade. He's lying. Whatever he says isn't important. Jackson moved closer to Sarah, a protective barrier. We're not getting dragged into this, Caleb. You should leave while you can. Just think about it, Caleb said, stepping back to give them space but keeping his eyes locked on Sarah. But it won't just be a decision for you or your mother. They'll come for all of you. With that, he turned and walked out of the diner, leaving a storm of unanswered questions hanging in the air like a dark cloud. You shouldn't have let him in, her mother hissed, a tremor in her voice. But maybe we need to listen, Sarah replied, her heart pounding. What if it's the only way to keep us safe? The uncertainty lay heavy in the diner as they all exchanged uneasy looks. The session was far from over, and as fear washed over Sarah, She realized that the past was no longer a closed chapter. It lingered, threatening to pour into their lives again. They didn't just have to figure out their next steps. They needed to uncover truths buried deep in shadows before it was too late. Are we really ready to face whatever is coming? She whispered, her own fear setting in. As they shared silent glances, the answer lingered in the air like an open question, waiting for someone to take that first step into the darkness. Would they confront the past head-on, or let fear dictate their future? The silence in the diner was deafening after Caleb walked out. The hum of conversations faded, and Sarah could feel her heart racing, thrumming in her chest like a war drum. She turned to her mother, desperate for answers. "Mom, please just tell me what's going on. What did Caleb mean by choices?" Her mother's face was a mask of conflict. Sarah could see the familiar lines of worry deepening as her mother shifted on her feet, her hands trembling slightly. "It's nothing, Sarah. Just a man trying to create trouble. We have to forget about him." Jackson moved beside Sarah, his gaze now fixed on her mother.
Doesn't he sound like nothing to me?
"What if there's more to this than we realize?" "Stop," her mother whispered, her voice cracking. "You don't understand." The weight in her tone pulled at Sarah, creating a knot of fear in her stomach. Resolute, Sarah pressed on. "Then help me understand. What could he possibly want from you? What did you hide?" For a brief moment, her mother's expression flickered, and then it was gone, replaced by a cold mask. "I can't help you. Trust me, it's better this way." "But if Caleb knows something," Jake interrupted, his voice loud enough to cut through the tension. "We need to protect each other. We're family. We need to figure this out together." The urgency in his voice was palpable, but it did little to ease the icy atmosphere. "Together?" her mother echoed, her eyes narrowing. "This isn't something you can just band together for. It's complicated, dangerous." Her forehead creased with the weight of memories she clearly wanted to keep buried. Sarah felt the anger rise within her. "But hiding isn't going to make it go away. If there are people out there looking for you, then we need to know everything." Jackson touched her shoulder, a small gesture of comfort. "Yes, right, or we'll always be looking over our shoulders."
What can we do right now?
The low murmur of the diner crept back, a stark contrast to the hurricane of emotions swirling around them. There was a moment when Sarah caught a distant glance from her mother, one filled with fear, sadness, and a flicker of something else, something like regret. Finally, her mother took a deep breath, as if preparing to step onto a stage. "Years ago, I was involved in something I thought I could outrun. But Caleb is just a messenger. The past won't stay buried forever."
What are you talking about?
Sarah asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "There were decisions that affected more than just me," her mother said, each word tasting like ash in her mouth. "Things I did to protect you, decisions made when I thought I was doing the right thing." "What things? Who are these people?" Sarah felt on the brink of losing control, emotions lurking just under the surface. "They were part of a life I thought I left behind," her mother finally admitted, eyes glistening. "And now it's creeping back, threatening the only life I can protect. I was supposed to keep you safe." Fear, confusion, and a deep-seated love collided in Sarah's chest. The weight of the past was heavy, an anchor pulling them down. "Maybe it's time we don't just wait," Sarah finally whispered, realizing that the truth, however terrifying, was far better than living a lie. "What if facing it is the only way to find peace?" Her mother stared at her, anguish etching deeper into her features. "I don't know if I can, but you're right. We can't keep hiding." As they exchanged looks, a new wave of determination surged within Sarah. They would face whatever awaited them together. But just then, a familiar face stepped back through the diner door. It was Caleb, though this time he wasn't alone. A shadow lurked behind him, and dread settled into Sarah's bones. "Looks like it's too late to run," Jackson muttered under his breath. And in that moment, Sarah realized that facing the past might not just bring answers, but could also open doors to dangers they never anticipated. Caleb stepped inside, his presence sending ripples through the diner. The bustling clamor vanished, replaced by a taut silence that seemed to hold its breath. His eyes scanned the room, finally landing on Sarah and her family. He walked toward them with a confidence that made Sarah's heart race. Behind him stood a tall figure, cloaked in shadow, their features obscured. It felt like something out of a nightmare. Sarah gripped the edge of the table, her palms sweating. Something in Caleb's gaze was a silent threat, a warning that sent a shiver down her spine. "Did you think I wouldn't come back?" Caleb said, his tone laced with mockery. "You can't ignore your past forever, can you?" Her mother's body tensed beside her, and for the first time, Sarah sensed genuine fear in her eyes. Jackson shifted protectively in front of them, glancing back and forth between Sarah and the door, as if weighing his options. "What do you want, Caleb?" he demanded, his voice steady, but laced with defiance. "I think you know exactly what I want," Caleb replied, a wicked smile creeping across his face. He gestured toward the shadow behind him. "Meet my friend, Violet. She's here to make sure we have a little chat about those choices you mentioned." The shadow stepped forward, revealing a woman with sharp features and an air of determination that made Sarah's stomach twist. Violet fixed her eyes on Sarah's mother. "You really should have kept your head down, Lucy. You brought this on yourself." A storm of emotions swirled within Sarah. She felt the walls closing in, both literally and emotionally. "What do you mean?" she forced out, desperate to pull at the strings of this unfolding drama. "Everything you've tried to bury is rising to the surface," Violet stated, her voice smooth but threatening. "The people you thought were gone are still watching. They want what you owe them." Her mother flinched, the tension in the air thickening like fog. "I thought I could protect you, all of you." Sarah looked at Jackson, then back to her mother. "What did you get involved in? What do they want?" Her voice rose, echoing in the silence of the diner, demanding answers. Violet stepped closer, her eyes glinting with cruel amusement. "You really have no idea, do you? Your mother was part of something far bigger than herself. She made choices that altered lives. But this is our life," Sarah exclaimed, a mix of fury and desperation propelling her words. "You can't just throw our lives around like they mean nothing." Caleb chuckled, leaning against the counter as if he owned the place. "That's where you're wrong. Your lives were never yours to begin with." Her mother's face hardened, the pain flickering like a candle fighting against a storm. "I did what I thought was right for who?" Caleb interrupted, his tone harsh. "For you or for them?" The atmosphere crackled with energy, heavy with past decisions and present threats. Sarah felt as if the ground beneath her might crumble at the weight of revelations. Everything she thought she knew was shifting, and the air was thick with danger. As if sensing the turmoil, Caleb straightened. "Here's the deal. You can keep hiding, but it won't change the fact that we're just getting started. There's a price to pay, and trust me, it's much larger than you think." The urgency in his voice sent Sarah's heart racing faster. She realized that they were standing on the edge of something monumental, an unfolding story that wove their fates together. In this moment, her mother's past was intertwining with her future. "Mom," Sarah whispered, feeling the thread of family binding them. "We have to face this together." Her mother nodded, tears glistening in her eyes, a fragile resolve forming beneath the surface of her fear. "Together," she echoed, but just as hope began to flicker, Caleb's smirk widened. "Let's see if that unity can withstand the truth about your choices. Because believe me, you're going to wish it had stayed buried." Sarah's breath caught in her throat as she glanced back at Caleb, knowing the darkest depths of their family's history might soon surface.
What?
Other secrets lay hidden in the shadows, waiting to emerge. Sarah felt the weight of Caleb's words pressing down on her, like a heavy fog that clouded her thoughts. She exchanged glances with her mother and Jackson, their united front seeming fragile against Caleb's looming threat. The diner, once a familiar refuge, now felt like a prison filled with promises of chaos. "So, what happens now?" Sarah's voice was a mixture of defiance and fear. She sought control in a situation that was spiraling beyond her grasp. Caleb grinned, the kind of smile that sent shivers down her spine. "Now, we talk." You and your mother need to come to terms with the past. All of it. He turned to Violet, who remained a silent but menacing presence, her eyes darting around as if ready to pounce. I don't need a lesson in my family's mistakes, Sarah shot back, clenching her fists under the table. The anger bubbled just beneath her surface, unnecessary armor against the dread creeping in. Maybe not, Caleb retorted, casually running his fingers along the counter, as if he owned the very space they were trapped in. But whether you accept it or not, the past is here, and it wants answers. It wants retribution. Revenge won't fix anything, Jackson interjected, his voice a steady rock in the tempest. Whatever your mother did back then, it's not worth tearing our lives apart. But Caleb laughed, the sound harsh and unsettling. It's too late for that, my friend. The past doesn't work like that. It has a way of reshaping the present without your consent. Sarah felt a flicker of despair. She needed to fight back. They all did. The bonds of their family felt like they were fraying. What has to happen for you to back off? She stepped forward, meeting Caleb's intense gaze with her own. Back off. His laughter echoed, filling the diner with agony.
No, no.
The fun is just beginning. The truth is the most explosive weapon of all. Another silence fell, heavy with implications. Sarah could see the patrons in the diner looking away, stealing glances as though they were watching a live theater of family tragedy. Let us talk about the choices, then. Sarah pressed, her heart racing with urgency. Let us lay it all bare. What do you really want? Caleb leaned in, his voice low and conspiratorial. Your mother made a deal. A choice that affected many lives. She thought she could outrun it, but here we are. His eyes glinted with excitement, relishing the moment. Enough. Lucy, her mother, finally erupted, her voice hoarse but filled with passion and fear. You don't know what I went through. I did what I thought was best to protect my family. And I'm not afraid of you. Violet stiffened slightly, her eyes narrowing. Perhaps you should be afraid of her choices because, trust me, they will come back to haunt you. The atmosphere thickened, every breath feeling charged with the weight of secrets about to spill. Just then, the diner's front door swung open, a gust of wind sweeping in. It seemed to carry a whisper of destiny, one that stirred unease among the already tense group. Caleb turned slightly, his gaze darting toward the door, curiosity flickering across his face. Looks like the past has found its way back faster than expected, he murmured. What do you mean? Sarah asked, fear gnawing at her gut. Caleb smiled again, this time more sinister. You'll see. As the door swung shut, a figure stepped into the diner, their features obscured by a hood. All eyes shifted toward this new arrival, the tension building to an unbearable height. Sarah's heart raced as she resolved to face whatever or whoever was about to walk into their already shattered world. That electrifying moment, a question buzzed through her mind. What more could possibly be waiting in the shadows? As the cloaked figure stepped forward, an uncanny calmness washed over the diner, juxtaposing the storm of emotions swirling in Sarah's chest. What now? She whispered to herself, dread hanging on the precipice of her voice. The figure shifted, dropping their hood, revealing a familiar face piercing through her haze of confusion. Maya? Sarah gasped, her childhood friend standing before her with wide, worried eyes. Sorry to drop in like this, but there's something important we need to discuss, Maya said, her voice tremulous but steady. Caleb's gaze sharpened. This is your play? He sneered. You're bringing in backup? I didn't know what else to do, Maya replied, her determination overshadowed only by her fear. I heard about everything happening here at the diner, and I needed to warn you, Sarah. The tension in the room shifted slightly. Memories began flooding back, days spent at the beach, laughter shared over ice cream, promises made to always be there for each other. But now, the shadows of their pasts threatened to eclipse the innocence of their friendship. Warn me about what? Sarah demanded. The stakes were climbing higher, and she could feel the pressure in the air like the weight before a storm. The truth, Sarah, Maya said, stepping closer. There are people watching, people who let go of what your mother tried to bury. Your family is entangled in something much bigger than we ever thought, dangerous connections that one tea just disappear. The air hung thick with tension, mixed with the smell of pies and coffee, but Sarah sensed something different now: fear. More than just for herself, for her mother, for Jackson, and for everyone she loved. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" Sarah asked, hurt streaking her voice. "I was scared. I thought you were safe," Maya exclaimed, panic edging her words. The truth, it felt like a sword cutting into all their hearts. "Safe?" Sarah whispered, trying to absorb what Maya was really saying. The life they thought they were leading was built on a facade, a delicate paper lantern in the face of a raging storm. Caleb stepped closer again, tension bubbling dangerously in the air. "You see what you've done?" Her ignorance was a shield. "Now, all of this has crumbled," he sneered. "Stop," Sarah shouted, feeling the weight of anger mixed with deep-seated fear. "You can't just force us into these choices. If you want answers, then let us get them out." Her mother squeezed her hand, eyes bright with the flickering remnants of defiance. "She's right. No more hiding. Caleb, bring it on. We face it all together." Caleb's smirk wavered, surprise flickering across his face. He turned to Violet, who only nodded slightly in acknowledgement. "You're arrogant if you think unity protects you against the shadows," Caleb warned, crossing his arms. "But fine. Let us play a game of truth. Tell me, Lucy, what did you do?" Sarah's heart pounded painfully in her chest as she watched her mother, the woman who had taught her to be brave, now look so small flanked by these figures of danger. "Years ago, I had to make a choice to protect my family from an enemy that never truly left us," her mother began, each word heavy with remorse. "I thought protecting you from my past would spare us all." "You spared yourself," Caleb interrupted harshly, a glimmer of triumph in his voice. "No," her mother shot back, anger igniting her spirit. "I did it for Sarah. You have every right to hate me, but I was holding on to love as a shield against the storm." Silence enveloped them, the kind that swells with unspoken words and shared burdens. Sarah's heart quaked at the vulnerability hiding behind her mother's words. "Mom, just tell me what I need to know." Tears glistened in her mother's eyes. "I thought I was leaving you a legacy of safety, but I've only painted us deeper into danger." With every recognition of truth, Sarah felt a fire glow beneath her chest. "Then let us burn away the old fears and create our own path from the ash of what's left." Famous last words, Caleb replied, a challenge lacing his voice. "But if you're ready for this, you better believe trouble will be on your heels." With resolve thickening the air, Sarah intertwined her fingers with those of Jackson and her mother. "Together, we're stronger than the shadows of our past," she stated firmly. Knowing this was their moment to shine, a ripple of tension spread through the diner as eyes shifted cautiously. No matter how daunting the path, with each whisper of truth shared, Sarah felt lighter, freer, her family's past no longer a shadow darkening their future, but instead a catalyst for their journey ahead. "This is where our story changes," she announced, a blend of defiance and hope layering every word. "And there's nothing powerful enough to break this bond." As if in response, a collective gasp rolled through the diner, a realization shared among them. The shadows were here, but so too were they, unrelenting in their pursuit of truth. Together, Sarah and her family would confront the storm. "Now let us get to work," Sarah urged, her heart racing not with fear but with the thrill of freedom rising like the dawn after the darkest night. What lay ahead would test them, tease out the deepest fears, and forge their bonds anew. The future sparkled with potential and adventure just beginning. Every past choice would now pave the way for redemption, reverberating with the honesty born from vulnerability. Together, they would rewrite their story. The story was just beginning. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending below, and share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.